I will never buy another Ford. So said, well, actually, a few commentators in the comment section. So really appreciate that when people drop their questions. I'm always here to try to give as many answers as I possibly can. And this is one I've been hearing, or similar to, that I've been hearing lately. And a lot of that has to do with dealers. And some of that actually has to do with perception. So I will actually buy other Fords, and that's because I've got a certain global perspective, you could say, on what's going on at different manufacturers. And I also am going to be talking about when your vehicle gets in, whether it's a Bronco, a Maverick, or a Lightning, what you might hear from the dealer. So we're going to be talking about that. Also a little bit about what you might hear at the end of a lease. So a little bit of talk to really make sure that I help you out, because at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, the whole team here, Winston, Marie, and I, we're all here to help you out. And actually, so are a lot of our members. So members and subscribers. I'll give a special thank you out to our members at the end of the show, because they've been helping out in ways they don't know yet. So I'll just talk about that. But let's just put the pedal to the metal and get right into it. What am I talking about? Why am I saying I'm never gonna buy another Ford again? Well, that was basically the comment that I got. And it's actually from a long time Ford owner. Not something that changes often. Actually, it would seem from the comment, something that changes very rarely. But this is what I got here as a comment. And let's answer this kind of comment question. So quote, I was all set to buy one, if not two, Ford Mavericks, but as usual, Ford couldn't their collective heads out of their rear ends and get the vehicle built. On top of that, they stopped taking orders for the time being. Ford seems to have one of the hottest selling vehicles on the market, and they can't even get them to dealerships. I've never seen a single TV ad showing or even describing the vehicle, yet they fly off the lots once they arrive. It seems to me that this is, we'll just say poor management, remove one word there, at the top of the Ford Corporation. So continuing a quote here, it's as if they just don't want to sell them. They threw them out there for the unbelievable price of 20 grand for a base model and released a scant number of them to be delivered, then pulled the rug out from under the buyers who were enthusiastic to buy one. We now hear that your order for a 2022 Ford Maverick may be carried over and turned into an order for a 2023. I don't understand why on earth they can't get their something together and get these vehicles built. I'm a huge Ford fan and I've been loyal to the brand. I own an F-150. Before that was a two-door Explorer Sport SUV, and prior to that it was a Ford Ranger pickup truck. I'm extremely disappointed in Ford and these deceptive bait and switch marketing tactics. Common sense says that if you roll your order for a 22 over and turn it into a 23, the original price will increase substantially as inflation has caused everything to go up in price. This is Ford's way of increasing profits and shafting potential customers. In the meantime, I'll take my money elsewhere, as much as it pains me to do so. So that's sort of a common, it's longer than the common comment, but let's just break that down, because this could really go under a don't be fooled section. There's a lot going on globally, and I'm going to really get into it detail by detail. But first of all, this isn't a bait and switch on Ford's part. Let's say Ford ends up building 80,000 Ford Mavericks this year. Well, right now they were selling, or previously selling, right around 90,000 Ford Rangers, and the Honda Ridgeline, well, they were selling between 30 and 40,000 Honda Ridgelines per year. So you can't just, you got to make these plans well in advance. You can't just all of a sudden be like, oh wow, we've got a lot of orders. Next month, let's make 3 times as many as intended. And making too many can have dire effects as well. And then there's also the fact that we do need to remember that everyone is having production shortages. Toyota and Honda have straight out come out and said that they'll be making 30 or 40% less. And if you want to know about delays, because a lot of people are saying, I'm tired of waiting, this is ridiculous, Ford has messed up. Ford hasn't messed up. Ford is actually, delay-wise, it can be worse. So I've been talking to different people in the business, other manufacturers, other dealerships. If you're looking at a Kia or Hyundai, you're looking for anything that's hybrid or electric from them, you're generally looking at 2 or 3 years. Now, if you're looking at Toyota and you're looking at something that's hybrid, you're going to be playing around about 1.5 years, 2 years, unless you're looking at the RAV4 Prime, in which case it's about 4 years to get a RAV4 Prime. So that's like a Ford Escape plug-in, but theirs is all-wheel drive. The Ford Escape plug-in is front-wheel drive, and that's been coming in roughly in the last 12 months. It's been taking about, give or take, 2.5 to 3.5, worst case scenario, 4 months from order to delivered at the dealership. Now, to touch on this whole, idea of bait and switch marketing, we can't say that Ford hasn't done any marketing on the Maverick and then call it bait and switch marketing because, well, like the quote that I read out says, there was no marketing. So Ford isn't, pumping out commercials on this and going out of their way to make the demand higher than it already is. They are building as many of these as possible, but do recall, you can't just, a factory isn't a light switch with a dimmer on it. You can't just go from, X number of production to then just say, next month we're building 2 or 3 times as many. And really anything that has batteries in it these days is any manufacturer that's offering a hybrid or an electric, as far as I know, you're looking at over 12 months of wait time. And yes, the Ford Maverick hybrid, if you have a simple build, a lot of people have been waiting for, waited about 8 to 10 months, sometimes maybe as much as not quite a year. And if you do have a more complicated build, meaning you have Lux package, you have Copilot, or on top of it, you have multiple constraints, you stack your constraints. So let's say you ask for the hybrid, which is constrained, meaning demand is much higher than supply. You also, on top of that, ask for, Lux package, Copilot, and you throw on a bed cover and mud flaps. Well, now you're adding constraints on top of the constraints, and when the factory is assigning builds and looking at what can be built, it means you're probably going to be very often not buildable, and they're going to build something that is buildable. Now, about price increases. Yes, 2023 will come with price increases. I think it's incredible that at least it's been confirmed for in the United States. There's going to be private offers so that, before there was price protection and some dealers knew how to do it, some dealers didn't know how to do it, and some dealers just, did whatever they did with their price protection. But at least in the States, there won't be price protection. There'll be emailed and mailed rebates directly to the customer to help, absorb that price increase. And this isn't so, like in this quote, it said, this is so that Ford can make more money. that's not accurate. Let's take the Mustang Mach-E as an example. The Mustang Mach-E is now costing Ford, compared to the first ones that were rolling off the lot. There's a news article on this. It's costing them an extra $24,000 as an average, because obviously the smaller battery isn't quite as expensive as standard battery versus the extended range battery, but on average an extra $24,000 per unit to build, because, well, batteries have skyrocketed in price. So if the cost of production skyrockets and you increase your price by what's actually less than inflation or equal to inflation, well, cost of production goes up by much more than inflation when it comes to these hybrid vehicles, and Ford is still producing them. They're not saying, we're not going to deliver, Maverick hybrids because the cost of batteries have gone up too much, or we're not going to produce and deliver Ford Mustang Mach-E for the time being because, well, the price has gone up too much. The price has gone up on production incredibly. And just this week, my local dealership received 5 Mustang Mach-E's, pretty much all in the same, I believe it was the same night, or maybe it was 2 truckloads. Maybe some came in the night before and then some came in the next morning while I got there later on in the morning. So, and I obviously don't sleep at my local dealership, so whether it was 1 truck or 2 trucks, that's not the point. The point is that cost of production has gone skyrocketed, and I don't see Ford making more money. I could have titled this video, Ford is gonna go bankrupt, because that would be more of, and that's not the case, but that comment or title would be more accurate than claiming that Ford is making a ton of extra money when, let's say, a Ford Maverick or a Ford Bronco goes from the 2022 pricing to the 2023 pricing. Now, we will have options, the order guides coming out. The first ones are going to start off for models July 18th. So we should see that. Hopefully the Maverick will be coming in soon, because you can order at any dealership as of August 2nd, a brand new 2023 Ford Maverick. Please follow my videos, follow the advice in them about not stacking constrained items. The more constrained items you pick out on your build, the more often you're gonna get passed over, and the more you might end up in a situation, for example, some 2022 Bronco reservation holders, some of them, like even people from August 2022, haven't received their Bronco. But that's, there's a list of things to avoid on the Bronco. And very interestingly enough, customer service did confirm to a client recently that those constraints are Wild Track, Badlands models, 2 doors, hardtop, 2.7 liter motor, Sasquatch package, Lux package, that makes sense because of the microchips, modular bumper, and tow package. But in recent videos, I have gone over percentage wise what the factory actually can produce. So Wild Track, it's actually 23%. I do not have a percentage on Badlands, so I can't confirm whether that customer service rep is correct in saying that the Badlands is constrained or backlogged. But I can say that I did see a Badlands with Sasquatch, but soft top, so only 2 constraints, 3, 2.7 liter. And I'm not sure if Badlands really is a constraint, because this thing was ordered in November and it showed up in mid to end March. So what is that? Get basically 4.5 months. So it went by relatively quickly. It didn't have the hard top, which is a huge constraint, but the hard tops now, 65% of total production can be built as a hard top. So it makes it look like hardtop is no longer a constrained issue. Well, it is, because there's a lot of backlog, there's a lot of catch up to do, which means it won't be a constrained item, several months down the road. But for now, if you're gonna be ordering up a 2023 Bronco or Ford Maverick, you're gonna be wanting to watch and maybe taking a few notes on what those constrained items are. I title those videos, with the word delay in pretty big letters, so you'll want to watch those. That will help you out. Now, if you like having your questions answered, or you want to throw out comments and you want to see, what kind of information, what kind of details I can give to help, support or really just give perspective on the situation, do make it to our lives. In our live sessions, we've got our members there helping out and our subscribers, so you'll want to subscribe to this channel to not miss out on that. I do want to give a special thank you before getting to the next question that I'm going to be discussing. A special thank you to our new members, Mark Miller, Orlando OBX, Brent Berryman, and of course our long-standing members from basically day 1 of membership, Tim Bartz, Rob McDonald, Dr. Detroit, and Ridgeview. Our membership really does help cover us for, the accidents we have on the channel. Crashed the brand new drone, for example, chipped the doors on the Bronco. I like to be able to try new things and go places. And of course, it definitely help, take us down to Bronco off rodeo. We hope to actually get one done in Moab, and we do enjoy taking y'all along for the ride. So do please continue to consider membership, and of course subscribing. Subscribing is completely free, doesn't take any money out of your wallet, and it definitely does help the channel. Now let's just get on to the next question. For the next question, it comes from David. Here's a good one. It says, I got a phone call from my dealership. I'm not going to specify where, but continue, quote, today. And my salesperson told me that Ford may be canceling my Maverick order that I placed on October 23rd, 2021. I'm not happy about it, and I'm thinking to seek some legal advice at this point, since I have signed purchase order from the Ford dealership. So I'm going to continue this quote, but it's going to be important we hear it out, because we definitely want to avoid doing something that a lot of us would feel like doing in this situation, because this situation is extremely infuriating. It says, I'm going to continue. I even purchased an Outer Banks Bronco from them while I was waiting for the Maverick, and at this point, if they will cancel my Maverick order, I'm compelled to just drop the Bronco to their lot and ask them to cancel the Bronco purchase as well. I signed the same type of paperwork for both vehicles, and if they feel that they just can cancel one of my purchase agreements, I don't see why they can't cancel both. As you can see, I'm really frustrated right now, so I figure I ask you if you have any advice or if you have heard of other dealers doing this type of things to other customers. Any information or advice that you may be able to share and send my way, it will be really appreciated. Well, thank you very much, David, because I do really like doing BS busters, and I also like my little segments on Don't Be Fooled, and this falls into both. Big way, Don't Be Fooled. In a little way, I'll bust a little bit I'll do a BS, BS busters on this one right here. So let's just jump right into it. First of all, if you already have a vehicle on lease or purchase with a dealer, and that dealer mistreats you, misinforms you, because this is a case of both, deliberate or not, we're going to cut through it, but you definitely never, ever want to drop your vehicle off at the dealership and just leave it there. The result of doing so, it's going to affect you. It's going to impact you, similar to claiming a bankruptcy. You're doing what's called a voluntary return of a vehicle, and that's going to destroy your credit rating. This is going to be something that's going to follow you and affect you for about 7 years. So never drop a vehicle off. Now, if you're currently leasing a Ford vehicle, I can tell you most Ford vehicles right now are worth more than either the buyout price on the lease or your amount owing in the case of a purchase. So in both the case of a lease and a purchase, if you can't stand your Ford product because of the dealership, I would remind you, keep in mind those are two completely separate businesses. Manufacturers do not own the dealerships. Ford does not own the dealerships. They're independent businesses, and some are extremely well managed with very professional and very service oriented people, and while others are, pardon my language, but jerks. So this dealership might be a bit of a jerk. I wonder if it's actually the same dealership that lent out a Ford Maverick before the embargo was lifted. And well, one group of journalists got to pump out some content before the Maverick embargo was lifted, whereas I had my content removed, and fairly, but I had been told when I went to an event by Ford employees that, yeah, no, go for it. Put it on social medias. This is great. Have fun. I did all the work. I built the video. And in the end, I ended up taking that video down because, well, I like to play by the rules, and I like things to be fair, just in general, for everyone, in as many situations as I can put my hands on. This situation that David is going through is completely unfair, but the worst thing you can do is drop the vehicle off. The only thing that's really going to possibly happen is either that vehicle is going to go back to, the auction house, or more likely the dealership is going to just buy out the amount owing. They'll find a way to get their hands on it, and they'll sell it and they'll make money. So don't go driving your vehicle off to the dealer, leaving it there, ruining your credit, and just throwing free money at them. What you can do is go to any dealership of any manufacturer and, well, sell your vehicle. You can also sell it yourself using various media tools, advertising tools. So that's pretty straightforward. You know, the auto traders and the Facebook marketplace and all that, you can throw your vehicle for sale. Even if you have a lease, you can, you know, if you've got a decent lease price on a vehicle that's hard to get your hands on, well, you could always say, take over my lease, and you can ask $4,000. But the easiest thing obviously is just to walk into a whole other dealership and just ask them to buy out your lease or your purchase. You're probably going to make money instead of ruining your credit. Now, let's cover some other important points in this quote right here. Ford will not be canceling any Maverick orders. They're not going to be canceling any Bronco orders. They're just not going to be canceling any orders at all. This isn't the case of, I think it's the Genesis. It's one of the Genesis SUVs, the 60. I have a contact that said that he had ordered one, he had been waiting for the base model, and well, the company just decided to stop making the base model. So he was told, and in that case, yes, Genesis is canceling his order because he can't have a base model. So now he's looking elsewhere. I also had that occur to my brother-in-law. He had ordered a certain model of the previous model of the Sportage. They're changing the model. And in changing the model, they just said, well, you know what? You're never going to get built. And he had already been waiting about 5 or 6 months. So he ended up getting a model, the previous model, but fully equipped that no one else had It was sitting on a lot because no one else had bought it up because it was pretty darn expensive for a Sportage. He's paying a pretty penny to have that vehicle. It's very loaded. It's expensive. It is nice, but it's not at all what he wanted. But Ford will not be canceling any of your Bronco or Maverick orders. What's going on here is either the dealership is confused and is misunderstanding what's going on. You know, you could say in converting the 2022 Maverick into the 2023 that your 2022 is getting canceled. It is, and it really is not. And actually, a dealer, Ford will definitely not cancel that order. They'll leave it in the system as a duplicate until many months from now, and then it's going to come off probably once you've taken delivery of your 23. Secondly, if the dealership has a role to play in this. They need to resubmit your order as a 2023, and if there's changes to your orders, they have to tell you about it and say, you know, what do you want to do here? This package doesn't exist, or this package has been modified. What are we going to do here? Now, of course, if your order is the same, they'll probably just put your 2023 order, fill everything out, and what they need to not do is delete your 2022. They need to have that sit and wait in the system, because if they delete it, then you've lost any chances on the Canadian side. If there's going to be price protection on the American side, you'll lose that personal rebate and you're going to lose your place in line. So that would be seriously a huge bummer, not rad at all. They need to make sure they don't do that. Now, the last thing to keep in mind is when you talk to your salesperson, you're only talking to a very small percentage of that business. And within a business, you can have really knowledgeable, professional sales personnel, and you can just also have someone who doesn't really belong. Maybe your salesperson, David, doesn't really belong, and maybe he just doesn't understand the whole process, and maybe he's too busy to understand the whole process. And that's when you probably want to speak to that dealership's manager and really ask what's going on here. I'm going to think that the manager doesn't want to lose your business, doesn't want to cancel your order whatsoever, probably has a much better idea of how your 2022 is going to convert into a 2023. So thank you very much for the question, David. If any of you have questions like this, which I'm sure you do make it to the live. The live sessions we always try to get through, if there's 10 questions, we'll answer all 10 questions. So we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. In the meantime, I do wish you a fantastic weekend. Remind you that coming up, we're going to be talking about the Ford Mustang Mach-E. We've got a whole bunch that came into the local dealerships. We're going to be talking about differences between trim levels, equipment, and the delays behind that with some really surprising information, because sometimes something with microchips can actually get delivered quite quickly. So I'll leave that bombshell for the next video. And I also want to remind everyone that if you do have a current lease and you're at the end of your lease and it's a Ford, it's probably worth more than the amount to buy out at the end, which takes care of Mule 9's question. They're saying that, you know, should they buy out their lease? Well, I'm going to be talking about that more in depth in future videos, but I do want everyone to keep in mind, if you currently have a lease on Ford and, you know, you're in your last 6 months to year and a half, it's almost certainly worth more than your buy it out price. So don't just hand over your keys. Get informed, watch the videos here, and it'll help you not miss out on, you know, leave money on the table, and it'll also make sure that you buy and order up the next model correctly to avoid hassles and troubles. So thank you very much to all the subscribers out there. If you're not subscribed yet, please do consider doing that. Thank you so much for the members. I really appreciate the members. You know, you help with answering questions, and also, of course, the membership does help us bring us extra funds so that we can do more things with the channel. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care.